Charlene Downes was 14 when she vanished on a Saturday night after meeting a friend at Blackpool's North Pier. Police were slow to react when she was reported missing 2 days later, treating her as another teenage runaway. At the time, they said she was one of a number of girls being sexually exploited by men working at takeaways in the town who were mostly Asian heritage. Almost 2.5 years later, 2 takeaway food workers were arrested and tried. It was claimed they disposed of her body by turning it into kebab meat, a theory Lancashire police have now confirmed was false, but it led to Charlene being known as the kebab girl. The jury failed to reach a verdict and a subsequent retrial collapsed over evidence from covert recordings which were unintelligible. Over the years, far-right figures from Nick Griffin to Tommy Robinson have jumped on the case for their own political ends. Elon Musk even weighed in this year with a repost repeating the kebab story. Nicola Thorpe, an actor and broadcaster who campaigns for women's rights, was also 14 and growing up in Blackpool when Charlene disappeared. She seeks to give the missing girl a voice in a new podcast which exposes major flaws in the original investigation.
And somebody, somewhere, knows something.
She questions why police have never managed to identify a man named Ronnie, who gave Charlene £70 on the day she disappeared. And while Charlene may have been a victim of the town's grooming gangs, she says little attention was paid to abusers closer to home, including a convicted child sex offender who was staying at the family home when she vanished. Well, earlier I spoke to Nicola Thorpe and began by asking her about her first memories of Charlene's case.
I remember seeing missing person posters going up around town. Today's the anniversary of her disappearance. And yeah, it was in the run-up to Christmas that people started to realise that she'd gone missing. And then in 2004, missing person posters going up in bus stops and lampposts. And people didn't know. You know, it took a couple of years before the police said what they presumed had happened to Charlene. But there were certainly rumours around the town of different areas to avoid, and kind of bad things were happening in particular places in town. That's certainly my memory of it.
With Charlene's case, what a lot of people remember is the kebab girl headlines.
Yeah.
Some thought her body was chopped up in a takeaway by her killers. What more did you find out about that?
Well, it's a gruesome story. It really is. Still to this day, people refer to Charlene, sadly, as Kebab Girl. But it was more than an urban myth. It was the police and prosecution's official theory of what they thought had happened to her when they put 2 men on trial in 2007. But it wasn't true. It never happened to her. There was no DNA evidence, no forensic evidence. It was based on little more than rumour and supposition. And yet for nearly 20 years now, that's the nickname that has stuck, and it's a story that has overshadowed Charlene's case, and I believe has really got in the way of getting justice for that poor 14-year-old.
The trial started these rumours about grooming gangs. What more can you tell us about that?
So after Charlene disappeared, the police started interviewing her friends and acquaintances, and what they soon discovered was that there was a network of grooming and abuse taking place in Blackpool town centre in the nighttime economy. What was really devastating is the way in which police treated these girls, now women. The women that I spoke to said that they weren't treated with any dignity or compassion whatsoever by police. In fact, they were labelled prostitutes in the press and police reports at the time. Of course, there's no such thing as a child prostitute, only a victim of child sexual abuse.
How does it make you feel to know that that's still going on? Charlene's case could and possibly is happening right now.
It's infuriating. I mean, you know, often when it comes to grooming gangs, people want to say that there's a particular group of people who are overrepresented, but the overrepresented group that we have solid, irrefutable data for is the fact that men are overrepresented in these crimes. Violence against women and girls is a national problem that needs to be tackled.
There's a national inquiry that has been set up, but it's been plagued by loads of issues, essentially. The Home Office Minister, Jess Phillips, has been massively criticised by some victims, and they say that she should stand down. Should she?
It's not for me to decide. I think it's a shame that, again, this has become about political point scoring when at the centre of it are victims who want to seek truth for themselves, but also stop this from happening to other girls in the future.
So in your opinion, should it focus on so-called Asian grooming gangs, or should it be winded out to actually make a difference?
I feel deeply uncomfortable about the idea that a victim is more or less valuable to an inquiry because of the ethnicity of the person who abused them. Also, there are multiple victims here who have been abused by multiple men. What are we going to say to them? We'll only investigate or look at the man who abused you who was this particular ethnicity or this particular nationality. That makes me deeply uncomfortable.
This story seems to have found an audience with far-right campaigners and even Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is the case, and why do you think that they're using this particular story?
This story is so easily racialized because of the focus on so-called Asian or Muslim grooming gangs, and the fact that the theory about what happened to Charlene was that she'd been cut up and turned into kebab meat. It is ripe for being exploited by the far right. But Elon Musk's sharing of the disinformation around this case is what I find particularly upsetting, because this is why I made the podcast. I wanted to right the wrongs of this case and really inform the public of the truth and the lies about what happened to Charlene.
Nicola, thank you very much.
Thank you.